Good afternoon, folks. Ferlin Kearns, and I'm back here at my car lot. I'm doing a little plug for Gary Richardson, my friend and gubernatorial candidate. I've done this before, and the last time I did it, I just talked mainly about Gary's integrity and character and the man behind the candidate, and we really didn't get into policy that much. But this time I want to talk a little bit about policy and what's separating Gary from the rest of the pack. If you listen to Gary talk, he talks about two things all the time. He talks about the turnpikes, and he talks about the budget and auditing every state agency out there and not raising your taxes one penny until we figure out where all the money's going. And the five main agencies, the big ones, the Department of Corrections, Department of Transportation, the Turnpike, obviously, Grand River Dam Authority, and Education. Those are the five main ones he's wanting to start with to find out where the money's going before we raise your taxes one penny. When it comes to these turnpikes, he talks a lot about forensic audits and auditing the turnpikes, and I don't want to talk about that so much. He's been talking about that a long time. What I want to talk about is economic development and how these turnpikes kill economic development in the state. Nobody ever really talks about that much. If you look at Oklahoma City, I live in Oklahoma City, and you look at I-35 North, goes through Edmond. It's booming out there, economic development everywhere. You go south on I-35 through Moore and Norman. It's booming, economic development everywhere. Take I-40 West, go out through Mustang and Yukon. It's booming, economic development everywhere. Same deal, you go out I-40 Midwest City. 29th Street out there used to like a ghetto, and they've completely transformed that even along I-40 in Midwest City. But you get on Interstate 44, and you go east on 44 out east on I-44, east of I-35, the second you cross I-35, it's over. There's absolutely nothing out there. It's like a desert. And why is that? It's because you got that turnpike and you got those toll booths, and you can't access anything out there. It's absolutely killed all those towns between Oklahoma City and Tulsa. I was in an event the other night, and Mick Cornett was there, and Mick Cornett likes to take credit for Oklahoma City and the MAPS project and Bricktown. And I told him, Mick, if you want to take credit for that, that's fine. But how successful would it have been downtown Oklahoma City if you had to go through toll booths to get there? Or suppose, like between Oklahoma City and Tulsa, you can only get off that turnpike every 10 miles. So suppose you could only get off I-40 every 10 miles, say at MacArthur and Air Depot. What would Bricktown look like right now? Not only do you not have these toll booths to get there, they created new roads to make access to to downtown Oklahoma City easier than it's ever been. I've lived here for 30 years, and I was on I-35 one day, and I realized they have built a new road to access Bricktown. All Gary is saying, let's afford the same opportunity to all these little communities all over the state. If you're going to have access to downtown Oklahoma City, how about downtown Stroud, downtown Wellston, and all those other little towns? What they're wanting to do now is build 25 more turnpikes, and all that's going to do is put roadblocks between people and the local economies. And anytime you put roadblocks between people and the local economy, you're going to deter activity in that town. And that's what those turnpikes are doing. Everywhere they go, they kill the local economy. His second deal is the budget. Let's audit every state agency and find out where the money's going. No new taxes. It's going to take leadership down there to get that done. What we had in the 1980s, we had a group of people down there at 23rd and Lincoln, and they come up, this genius plan that would solve all our state's problems. They called it a sin tax. And they decided if they could raise taxes on beer, cigarettes, and gas, they could just solve all the state's problems. Well, it didn't work. But 30 years later, we got a new group of people down there. We don't call them Democrats anymore, we call them Republicans now. And they come up with the same genius plan to fix all the state's problems. They decided if they could raise tax on beer, cigarettes, gas, gross production tax, that they could solve all the state problems that way. And they did. They passed all that stuff, and the governor signed it. Had Gary been governor, he would have vetoed every one of those bills. He actually went to court and sued on one of them, trying to get it declared unconstitutional. That's how much he believed that that tax increase was wrong. What they did down there, and this shows a lack of leadership. When you wake up in the morning, you can do one of two things. You can prepare for the future, or you can repair what you've done in the past. And that's all we've ever done down there in the last few decades at the Capitol. We're always repairing what we've done in the past. Every day we're like firemen down there. We got to put out the fires that pop up that day, and that's a lack of leadership down there. What they did, they needed to come up with some more money. So what they did, they said, let's find an industry. But one of the leaders in the industry in a 2-year period, their stock price went from $75 a share to $25 a share. Another leader of that industry, their stock price went from $25 to $5. They've lost billions and billions of dollars. They've laid off thousands of people, and our legislature decided, yeah, let's raise their taxes. How does a legislature look at an industry that their stock price is dropping 80%? They're laying off thousands of people and losing billions of dollars. How do they look at that and a governor signs it thinking it's a good idea to raise taxes on that industry? That's a lack of leadership. Gary would have vetoed that. He said over and over and over, not one penny in new taxes until we find out where the money's going. $30 million missing at the Labor Department or the Health Department. Well, then we find out it isn't missing at all. Well, then maybe it is missing. How do you not know? How do you lose $30 million and then, well, it really isn't missing and you just really don't know where it's at, so it really was lost? How does that happen? That's a lack of leadership. Now, back to those turnpikes and auditing all these state agencies, Gary's always talking about corruption. He's a former prosecutor. He can smell corruption. He can smell corruption at the turnpikes. He can smell it at the health department and all these different agencies. In the 1980s, he prosecuted and put in jail 230 people on the county commissioner scandal. Who do you think, out of the candidates we've got running right now, who do you want to put in charge to go down there and sniff out that corruption? He did it in the 1980s, and if you give him a chance, he'll do it again. Well, we were done for a second, but my friend Gary Richardson, he just showed up, and he wants to say a few words to add on to the end of this deal.
And I did just show up. I had no idea that he was going to be doing this. I dropped by. I was in town. I heard his message. I totally endorse it. This is Gary Richardson. I would appreciate your vote on June the 26th. Let's turn this state around. Let's have a captain on that ship that right now is going in a circle. Thank you very much, and God bless you.